The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
Welcome back to the Secrets of Technology podcast. I'm Kim Commando, America's digital goddess, and I never miss an episode.
You're listening to The Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Pat Scott. Hi, Pat.
Greetings.
And Father Andrew Kinstetter. Hi, Father Andrew.
Hello there.
And Merry Christmas Eve, as this show releases. It's Merry Christmas Eve. Yeah. So before we get into today's topics, I want to tell you all about a great show that's on the StarQuest Network that I'm sure you'll enjoy, called The Catholics of Oz. And it includes our friends Carolyn, Lino, and Lindsay, all from Melbourne, Australia, that Oz. And they talk about all kinds of interesting stuff, including tech stuff, but they talk about science, they talk about faith, they talk about what's they're watching, playing games, that sort of stuff. A lot of fun. It's very interesting, and it's always great to hear them from their point of view. And you have to hear Lino laugh, because Lino has got the best laugh, and it's a lot of fun. You should definitely check it out. You find it wherever fine podcasts are found, or at sqpn.com/Oz, OZ. So let's talk about today's topics. Our first topic comes from an article that was in the Wall Street Journal recently. The headline is "Ping, Ding, Chirp, Notifications Are Driving Us Crazy." And it is a really good article because it talks about how we're all just inundated with various notifications, all these things trying to get our attention, whether it's our phone, our watch, our iPad, our TV, our smart TV, our smoke detectors, our washer and dryers even beeping at us all day long. And we're inundated, and we're having trouble with distraction because each notification is an attention hog, but we're also just how to respond. And we all have this anxiety, and I say we all, not literally not everyone, but in general, there's a lot of people with anxiety about responding to these notifications. And I just, start off, Pat, you work as a consultant going around helping people. People contact you for help with technological issues. Father Andrew, obviously, as a pastor, you all constantly have people who need your attention for various important things. Mm-hmm. How do you all deal with the notifications and people trying to get your attention 24/7? Pat, let's start with you in your situation.
Well, one of the issues I have is I could get a text, I could get an email, I could get a messenger chat, I can get another type of Google Voice notification. So a lot of times I'll say, I think I know somebody, that person contacted me. I can't find where it was that they contacted me. Now, the one thing I do on my phone is I have it muted all the time. Mm-hmm. I do not let the chirps, beeps, whatever come in. I have the things that I think are important pop up banners for me, and I've got them set so the banners don't just pop up and go away, they stay. Mm-hmm. And so I have to take an action to close it. Now, sometimes that's inconvenient, but I don't tend to miss as many things, and the notification being popped up often tells me what app it's coming from. Not always, but often. So that's the way I've tried to tame it. But yeah, when somebody else's, my clients are always saying, I don't know where that's coming from. This thing keeps chirping at me, and I don't know what app it is, or even which device it is.
How about you, Father Andrew? How do you deal with as a pastor?
Well, so I don't, maybe I'll say it this way. I deal with them poorly. And what I mean by that is I don't silence them as much as I should. I mean, the vast majority of notifications that I get are not essential urgent requests. There is an emergency line that goes to my phone, but that's a Google Voice number. So, I mean, that's pretty clear. If someone's calling that, I know what's going on. But the email notifications, the Instagram messages, or, like all those sorts of things are pretty non-essential. And I'm really bad about turning them off because I can relate to that article. Like, I have this anxiety. If there's ever a unread notification on any one of my apps, it drives me nuts until I can get rid of it.
Same here.
And so so it really bothers me when I see someone's phone and they have 1,000 unread email messages.
Yes,
it
that's
just
my
like
wife.
I turn off the counter sometimes myself.
Yeah.
Right. So if you were to pull up my phone right now, there is no unread email messages unless I got one in the last 10 minutes. There's no missed phone calls. There's no unread texts. And I think it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because we have definitely in our current culture, we have this expectation that we need that instant reply back. Especially with texting, it's you can I think by default it's set on, you can see if someone's read your text or not, at least if you're, iPhone to iPhone. And that also is anxiety ridden too, because
and you
it's
can turn
like
that off.
Right. And so actually that could be a really good thing for someone to do, is to go into your settings and turn that off, just because it's probably not helpful or healthy to be that available all the time. So I mean, a few of the things that I do in terms of notifications is like you, Pat, my phone is on silent 24/7.
Right.
I don't know the last time I've actually heard my ringtone. And, so it vibrates when I get a call or a notification, and that's it. Because I wouldn't want it to be chirping at me all day long. The other really big one that I do is at night. I do have it set to sleep mode with the iPhone. And so that mutes all unnecessary notifications, and it even dims the screen. So even if I look at it after it's in night or sleep mode, I have to go through an extra step to pull up notifications, which is helpful because if I'm in bed and I don't see my phone light up if I get a Facebook message or whatever. And so at least for nighttime, that's helpful for me. I should do more, things like, when it's my day off, again, I'm checking work email, and I shouldn't be, but again, I'm sort of, it just bugs me if I have an unread message. And so I'm sort of notorious for being more available than I should. And that's probably, adds a bit more stress to my life than is necessary. But, so I guess I have some work to do there too, because it's not helpful even for me to be that available all the time for the non-essential stuff.
And I have turned off the banners on a lot of things. Like, I don't show the Facebook banners, or not banners, the badges.
Yeah.
I don't even show the number of Facebook things or Twitter things or any of those. I go look at them to see what's new if I'm in the mood to do so. But I even go one step further. I almost never answer the phone unless it's a family member. I always let it go to voicemail, and then I can take a look at it, listen to it, and decide what I want to do before I call them back. I've just decided that nothing is that super urgent that I can't wait 3 minutes to listen to the voicemail.
So one of the things I want to add too is that if you have Do Not Disturb on, at least on the iPhone, you can set it up to have certain people who can always get through. So say you want your mom to always be able to reach you, or your spouse. You can also set, I think it's automatic. If someone calls, if the same number calls you 3 times in a row within a short period of time, it goes through, because that assumes that it's urgent.
Emergency,
like, the police are trying to get a hold of you, that sort of thing. So one of the things that I was just doing this before we started. I turned off, I've had Slack notifications on my watch for the longest time. And I just realized, I love everyone in SQPN. I really do. But I really don't need to know as soon as someone sends me a Slack message. I'll get it. I've got it open on
emergency.
Right. It's open on my computer. Like as soon as I'm at my computer, it's right there. So I can see if there's messages. I get an email, if I don't answer a notification, very soon. So it's not that urgent. So I turned that off on my watch. That's a big one. The big attention stealer is the watch. So I also get iMessages, messages on it, and that's trickier because I want to get messages from like my wife on my watch, but I don't necessarily need the family group message, like my siblings who could go on and on and on and on. So what I've done in that one is I've muted notifications on that in messages. So I've selected that and said mute the notifications from this. Also from my scout troop leadership group message, because they can sometimes like it's silent for days at a time, and then like Adam will make a crack, and then Dan will jump in, and then Heather will say something, and then it will go on for like an hour. Beep, 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 beep. Driving me crazy. So it, mute. So I muted that. So that's always good. One thing that Apple, I think, has noticed, I think they've all noticed, Google, Apple, Microsoft, have figured out that these notifications are a little driving us crazy, and they're giving us more tools. So in iOS 15, there's a thing called notification summary. So that for certain things, certain notifications, I only get them. I set it up so I get them twice a day, in the morning and in the evening, for certain apps that I really just don't need to have them as they come in. Like you, Pat, most apps I've turned off notifications altogether. You have to have a real reason to get a notification to me. I have an app called Due, D-U-E.
Yes.
And I think I've talked about it before on the show. And this is for the most important things that I really need to do when it's time to do them and not put them off for too long. Like take medication, like put out the trash on Thursday morning before the trash truck comes and I have to wait 2 weeks to put it out again. That sort of thing. It's like, and what happens is when the time comes up, it beeps at me and then it goes away. And then 5 minutes later, it'll beep at me again because I haven't done the thing. And it will keep that up every 5 minutes or whatever interval I set until I go do it, because it drives me crazy to do it. But that's the sort of thing I want it to do that. But only the most sensitive, time-sensitive things get to be on that app. Everything else is just regular.
Due has really helped me too for that same reason. It gets those things that I would. It's a peril if I miss them.
Yes, it's the monkey in your back. He just will not let you go. And like you, Father Andrew, I hate seeing numbered badges on my apps. Yeah. Although I do keep them on some so that I will deal with whatever they're telling me. So I will check them. But some of them, like just before we started recording, like Ring, the Ring cameras, they have a neighbors app. So like everybody who owns a Ring device in my neighborhood can, hey, I saw this thing on my app, what's that going on? And it had these red badge notification, and I couldn't make them go away. And it was driving me crazy. Like, take those away. I actually have to turn that off on that because there's no need for me to have those on that app. So it's really like there's a bit of like peace that comes with not having that stuff, not being nagged. The other thing I wanted to mention was the non-computery things like smoke detectors. I mentioned before the worst game ever is which smoke detector is beeping at 3 a.m. I had one time where I literally took them all down and held them up to my ear one at a time to hear the beep. And it turned out like I went through all of them and it was none of them. And it turned out to be some other device that was in my office that has the exact same beep as a smoke detector. Like I could never figure out why the beep is so short that it's impossible to get a location on it.
I wish they would have a particular red light that comes on when it's beeping, because actually for deaf accessibility, that would be probably pretty intense. Right. And
that's one of the reasons I've been slowly replacing all of my smoke detectors with Nest Protect Wi-Fi connected ones, because if they have a low battery, they tell me in the app, it's that one in the hall. Oh, thank you. That makes sense. Instead of the hunt. So one of the things the article talks about is in relation to work. They suggest, some of the experts suggest that managers should create quiet hours where people aren't expected to respond. And I find that fascinating. I think this may be a generational thing, but this idea that and I think you kind of mentioned this a little earlier, Father Andrew, is like we have this expectation that we need to jump on every message. I got a text, I have to respond. I have an email, and that's not just you. I kind of feel this urgency too sometimes, and it's like there used to be a time when people went home and like for 2 whole days didn't respond to anything at the office, or a whole week. It's wild.
You couldn't because you didn't have access to the office phone, or
Yeah.
I just to throw this in here, I blame Microsoft's MSN Messenger for this. It's sort of, at least in my, this is totally my thought here going on. The precursor to the text message craze of today. But one of the things that I remember in using MSN Messenger in high school was there was a nudge button that if someone was online, you could use a nudge button and it would force their screen to pop to the front and shake and make a noise.
Oh my.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I mean, looking back, oh my gosh, it was super annoying, and I don't know why they ever included it, but it was
obnoxious.
a way to like get someone's attention immediately. And then like you had to respond to it because
that must be where the Facebook poke came from.
Could have been.
Maybe.
Could have been.
Well, at least it wasn't quite as annoying as Clippy.
Yeah. Hey there, looks like you're trying to get someone's attention.
But I like what you said about that article about like these quiet times, because I think, I mean, the article pointed out that we're so distracted all the time that I think they said it takes you like 25 minutes to refocus back to your original task that you were working on before you got distracted, and you tend to then shift to other little projects in between getting back to your original task. And I mean, it's not productive. It's not helpful to be that kind of pulled in all sorts of directions at once. And we don't need to be that busy, I guess, mentally with all the distractions.
Well, I was just going to say, one suggestion I have for people who have both an iPhone and a watch is that by default, Apple wants to put all the apps that are on your phone. If there's an equivalent one on the watch, they put it on there. And I, for myself and for my husband and some of my clients, have gone through and removed a lot of the apps from showing up on the watch because it's just overwhelming.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's to take them off, or if you don't want to take them off, to turn off the notifications. So you do that in the watch app on your phone, and you can either take them off the watch altogether or just turn off the notification or modify the notification even. But yeah, that's a good idea.
Well, there's a lot of apps that want to talk to the watch that really there's no reason for CNBC or your local weather or whatever. Those aren't essential on the watch.
Breaking news alerts are the worst. Like anything someone who works in Hollywood does is by definition not a breaking news alert. Like no. I have turned off all breaking news alerts. There could be an alien invasion like at this very minute, and I would never know. Too bad. It's just that's the price for never hearing another Kardashian update again. Right. So that's a good point. Another thing to make from a Catholic perspective is, like I like to use the Breviary app, iBreviary, for praying, and we pray night prayer with my kids. We pray that every night, and I do it on the phone, and I put it in Do Not Disturb. I put it in a focus mode. That's the new thing in iOS 15. I put it in a focus mode so that I don't get any alerts while I'm praying, because that's super distracting. I don't want something popping down from the top or popping up in the middle of the screen. Well, and I think it's important for us. I think moments of prayer, this is the wisdom of the church, moments of prayer where we step aside from the world and put our focus on God and not on the work. I think that's a brilliant, God knows how he made us. And I think that's part of how we are made, is to take a break. Like this manager talking about it. I mean, he's essentially doing the hours with his employees in a secular sense. So I think that's a good idea.
I do love the fact that the app will pop up on the watch and let me know what hours of the day.
Oh, the iBreviary notification.
Well, let me see. It's either that or Universalis. I'm trying to remember.
It's probably
because
Universalis.
One of them, Universalis actually pops up and you can see the verse and you can see the gospel reading when you just tap on your watch. And I really like that because that does help center me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Taking those
Well,
moments. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I mean, just speaking from a Catholic perspective here too. I mean, there's incredible wisdom in going on a retreat, even
Yep.
too. I mean, because that's the whole point of a retreat. A spiritual retreat is to break from the world and from the busyness and all the noise to, go away with the Lord for, if you can do it for a few days or a week or, longer sometimes if you're able to. And part of that is just to sit in quiet, so you can then listen to God. It's often we're so busy with everything else that our minds are not settled down enough to actually listen, and so that's crucially important too. I had just a couple other kind of maybe tips to throw along with that. Especially if you're going on a retreat, and if you're able to, turn the phone off completely.
Yeah.
I mean, that is one of the most liberating things to do in our world today. Or even if you're just, on vacation or it's your day off, and I'm talking to myself here, just turn the phone off, because it's, if there's really something that crucial, there's other ways to get a hold of me, and I don't need to be, that connected all the time. The other tip that I was going to throw out too is if you can also remove, of course, some of these non-essential apps from your phone. So like often for Lent, what I'll do is I'll remove all the social media apps off of my phone and then make it so that I can only check them on a computer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not completely separated from them, but I'm not getting the constant, notifications on my phone. You can do that as a kind of a Lenten practice, or just kind of a normal, just kind of, you want to clear up your notification practice. But those are also things to consider as we're looking at these notification overload situations.
That's great. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Turn off find the time to turn off your phone, vacation, weekend, retreat, something like that, and just get liberated from it.
And please, sorry, this is totally a pet peeve and not really related to notifications, but if you're going to go out to dinner at a restaurant, please talk to your families and not be on your phones.
Right.
Oh, I see too many couples out at a restaurant and they're together and they're both on their phone, and it's like, oh,
yeah.
we're losing some of that sort of actual relationship things too. But that
is a danger. That is a danger. Yes, I agree. And that sometimes is me and my wife.
Well, sometimes the phone can be you're looking at a picture from a family member and sharing it with them, or talking about it,
Right.
and that type of thing. But yeah, most of the time, if at dinner and something like, and even at home at dinner, the phone may be in the room, but it's on the chair upside down, so I can't see it unless something comes up that I need to go look up something.
Right.
Yep.
Right. It's worse when it's four people in a family, everyone's on a phone, and no one is talking to each other at all.
Yeah,
That would
that's
be
a
the bad
problem.
thing. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. All right. So, notifications. One of the things Father Joseph saw, we were going to talk about this tonight. Who's Father Joseph Sund, who's been on several episodes recently. He's going to be back very soon. But he sent us a link to an article that a notification that got him. The Nebraska State Patrol apologizes for late night emergency alert error. They sent out an emergency alert, a test of the emergency alert system in the middle of the night. I think it was 11 p.m. actually, where a lot of people are asleep by 11 p.m. But that's one of those alerts that goes through your do not disturb, by the way, which is a good thing, because that can be a tornado alert or something like that. But
There's your alien invasion.
Alien invasion, right. So I may find out anyway then, because the emergency alert system will let me know. So it was. He said this one got me. He said so. That's can't do anything about that.
It reminds me of the January 2018 Hawaii missile alert.
No kidding.
Accidental notification too. Like that one would have been absolutely terrifying. I think his was just this is a test of the emergency system, but the Hawaii one was there's a missile incoming.
I heard a news article, I think at the time, that kind of followed up on how it might have happened, and there's no I never got a clear indication that they knew exactly how it happened. So there's no indication that someone actually lost their job because of it. But that was a bad one. All right, that's very good. So we're going to move on from there to first, I want to thank our patrons who make our show possible, including Dan S., Mihoville P., Michelle S., Paula C., and Les H. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And the end of the year is coming. That's right. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible nonprofit organization, so your gifts may be tax-deductible if you are a U.S. citizen. So please consider us. Our mission is important to us, and I think important to helping a lot of people with the information we share. All right, let's move on to our headlines. Our first one, this was interesting. Google announced that they might start locking. Well, the headline is Google Drive could soon start locking your files, which is a nice clickbaity headline. What it is Google announced a policy that files that are hosted on its platform that are in breach of its terms of service or abuse program policies will be flagged to their owner and restricted automatically, which means that the owner can access them, but they can't share that with anyone else. Okay, so it's not that Google is going to be locking you out of your files or out of your system, out of your Google Drive, but just that if it's a file that's in breach. And then, of course, you can appeal and all that sort of stuff. Well, what do y'all think of this? Is it does it creep you out that Google can reach into your account and see that?
No, because Dropbox already did that to me.
Oh, really?
Because I have a few files that are password, things that will let you see a password that's hidden, with asterisks and things like that. And Dropbox, because it's a good place for me to be able to get to it from any place, I've got a few of those utilities in a folder of tools. And Dropbox will flag them and remove them even though they are legitimate tools. They've already blocked them and won't let them stay on the system, and I can't get around it.
Oh, wow.
So actually Google is better for it. I may move my Mama Nerd tools over to Google because at least I can still get to them myself.
So Google, Dropbox thinks they're hacker tools, basically.
Yes, you're right. They're afraid that I'm hosting, but even though they're not shared with anybody, as far as they're concerned, it looks like a virus or a hacker tool. So it actually physically deletes them from my Dropbox.
Wow, that's excessive. Wow. How about you, Father Andrew? What do you think?
I guess I'm not opposed to it because I feel like if you're going to use any of these services, you have to know that, you're uploading it to a Google server. And
right.
If there's something like, if there's something that you just want private completely, then you have to just keep it locally and, store it somehow elsewhere. But if you're going to use one of these services, and of course they're trying to target things not at what you're doing bad.
No,
but,
I understand.
Of course they're
or
right.
They're
the abuse kind of stuff. And I think it's good that they're trying to lock that down from being shared and distributed, and that's, I'm perfectly fine with that.
And like you said, if you're posting your stuff on Google, by this point, you need to know anything that you've put on Google servers, anything that goes through Gmail, Google can see.
Any of these services can see what's in your systems. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Unless you set up your own private server on the internet that is BitTorrented and encrypted and on the dark web or something like that. It's just, actually, if you really, to be serious, if you really wanted to host something that you kept control of, I would say a network attached storage, like a Synology drive that's on the net with a dynamic DNS name that you can access and encrypt it with through a VPN. Mm-hmm. If you VPN back to your house to that drive, that's probably the best way to host something that you can access remotely. Otherwise, a thumb drive is going to be your best
I was
friend.
going to say, I do carry thumb drives with me that have the same tools on them. It's just that sometimes if I can't find that drive because it's so tiny and gets lost, then it's nice to have a repository I can go quickly log in and pull down a tool I need. I don't necessarily need those particular types of tools all the time. It's other utilities that I need to get to most of the time.
Sure.
So it's not that big a loss.
Well, I think so. I think we're agreed that this is not a bad policy here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So our next headline involves our favorite social media service, Meta, or i.e. Facebook. Do we really have to call it Meta? Anyway, so Facebook is apparently, now the headline is Facebook finally has live chat support for people
Not
locked
yet.
out of their accounts. Yeah, that's a little premature. So there's a couple things that the article talks about. It's a little bit confusing, and I'm not sure if these are separate things or the same thing. But the first thing they said is they have a small test of live chat support for English-speaking creators, i.e. influencers in the U.S. who don't already have an assigned relationship manager who can answer like everyday questions about, revenue, ad revenue or that sort of thing. What to talk about is like people who are sort of minor celebrity internet celebs who have a following.
The
that
TikTok
they're
people or the whatever.
Yeah. They're not big enough to have their own, a Facebook relationship manager, account manager, but it's about people having access to live people to help them with whatever questions they have. So that's one. But then there's another part of the article which says they're also testing live chat help for some English-speaking users globally, including creators, people who've been locked out of their accounts. Now, this is a big one, if true, because until now, or even now, unless you're in this small group, if you get locked out of your account either accidentally or because of you violated some community standards, etc., there's no recourse. There's no human being to talk to. It's all bots. I experienced this when I had a post taken down, my quote from St. Augustine. I talked about that in the show a couple of years ago. They took down my post of a quote from St. Augustine, it seemed very normal quote. Anyway, there was no one to talk to. So this is supposed to be live people to talk to, and that would be great. I'm not sure these people will be any more helpful, frankly, but at least they're human beings. What do y'all think?
Well, and especially the people who have, I have a lot of senior citizens who may have forgotten their passwords, and it's been stored in a browser somewhere, and now they've got a new computer and they can't get in anymore. To have some way to help people who have gotten locked out accidentally would be huge.
Yeah.
Now, also the thing about, having violated terms of service, to have somebody to walk you through that would be nice too. But my concern is more for the people who've gotten locked out inadvertently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I can sort of relate to that because when I came to my current parish, there was a Facebook account that they had years ago, but the password has since been lost.
Yeah. Long lost.
So even by the time that I showed up, they had to create a whole new account for the parish that is now the current one. And we have all the passwords for that now, but that old one is kind of just out there, and
Yep.
You can't remove it. You can't do anything with it.
You can't do anything. And even if I, talked to the pastor 3 pastors ago, they're not going to remember the password, so I think that this is a good step forward. It may not be the best solution yet, but it's better than what they had. And I think, it can really help out, especially inadvertent kind of getting locked out of your account people.
Well, and I've actually had people that bought an Oculus just so they'd have a paid account that they could talk to Facebook with to get their account unlocked, etc.
Right. We talked about that. Yeah. Well, that's along the lines of this other thing that really surprised me in this report, where there was a BuzzFeed story back in August about an underground economy of people who claimed to have inside access at Meta and charged money to help you get your account restored.
And they were fakers. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So there's probably a few real people, some fakers. Like,
sure.
In other words, the lengths to which people were going to have to go in order to get help. Facebook has I guess, figured out that they need to start actually providing real assistance.
Well, and I've had so many of my clients say, hey, look, I wouldn't even mind if they charge me $20 or $50 or $30
Right.
or whatever. Give me a method that I can talk to somebody.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'll pay for a reasonable fee for it.
Right. Exactly. That
would be a
yeah.
moneymaker for them.
Well, it would probably pay the cost of having, these people on the
Right.
job to do it. So yeah, they definitely, I think they should. All right. And then our third headline is, it's called "The Internet is Tricking Our Brains." And so basically, it's kind of a wide ranging article, but its basic premise is the thesis is, and it's based on some studies that they've been doing. The internet is making us more confident, or say overconfident, about our own memories, knowledge, intelligence, and decision-making ability. So the ability to go, the fact that we can go to Google and easily find, information makes us more confident than we should be that we are able to actually know things, which I found interesting. And they said this applies to all kinds of stuff, not just to, say, diseases and politics, but also things like business and other aspects of life. Religion is another one where people seem a little to think they know a lot more about than they actually do because they can Google things. And I think it's fascinating. This article, there's a whole lot of points that they make in it, and but what do y'all think of this thesis that it's making us overconfident?
I think it's probably true that, I know myself, I've always felt I was a good researcher. I don't know a lot, but I can look it up, and I know how to look it up. But I understand that about myself. But I can see where a lot of people think, well, because I can look it up, then I know the answer and I'll remember it. The problem is we don't remember it, or we don't remember it accurately.
Yeah.
And after a while, it becomes that we think we knew that and we didn't.
And just because you found this information online doesn't make it true. The famous Abraham Lincoln quote about the internet.
Right.
Right. Well, and I think that's the problem is that, if Google says it must be true, or, or if my favorite influencer said it must be true, or, that kind of a thing is really problematic and dangerous. And Pat, I'm like you, I know a lot and I'm confident in a lot of my knowledge. But I know how to look things up. And I know how to look things up outside of the internet too. Like I know, especially in the realm of theology, like I know where to, pull up the Catechism of the Catholic Church, or, various church documents or whatever, I know where to go to. And I'm perfectly happy to admit to people like, I don't know that answer, but I'll go look it up and I'll get back to you. But I think too, one of the other things just with the internet and with Google, I remember having to do a lot more memorization in elementary school and in school. And I don't know, maybe that helped me to just be confident in my own memory and what I know, and I don't know, I imagine that's changed a lot in how, schools are operating today with just the, availability of Google and using that. And perhaps even, kids today aren't developing those
memorization.
Those skills that are actually they're really helpful. But I also, I fall into it too all the time. Like when when I'm looking up something for, the podcast or whatever, I just, go straight to Google and pull things up. So, I'm guilty of that too.
I guess I've always been less confident in the actual stuff I remember. My memory's always been bad, but I'm just a real good researcher. And I used to do the library and the catalogs and all of those types of things, encyclopedias, because I knew I could. And so, memorization, I know your kids have memorized poems and things like that. And I think that's good skills to have too.
Yeah, and one of the things they talk about, like especially with Juicy and Father Andrew, but in school, kids learning to, not learning to memorize. One of the skills that they think we've lost, it says in the article, online search is so seamless and always available that people often don't have the chance to experience their own failure to remember things. And so that makes them overconfident in their own memory. Like, think about that.
Sure.
Like if you've never had the experience of not being able to remember things, because I've always looked it up and it's always been at the on my thumbs. Like, that's kind of fascinating, actually, that idea. So, I have plenty of experience not being able to remember things.
That's been my whole life.
Yeah. One of the things that came up also is some anthropologists saying it's not such a bad thing that we have tools for remembering, because we've always had tools for remembering. He says we have this tendency to think of our mind and our brain as the same thing. Like, our brain is that goo in our head, but our mind is bigger than that, in the sense of it's all the systems we use to remember. In fact, there's a communal aspect to it, and so friends, family, who help us remember things, especially when you get together with family, say at a holiday, and everyone revives the stories. You're like, oh yeah, and then you all add a piece of that memory together.
Exaggerate the stories.
Well, there's that too. And then, but even things like notebooks or computers. Like, Evernote has always advertised itself as your second brain, where you can offload stuff, and that's a huge aspect. Offload the stuff that I don't need to be carrying around in the forefront of my brain to this second brain. There's something to that. So it's not all, technology isn't all bad.
And it maybe we could look at, that be something that we pass on to our kids and stuff, is that start developing those methods of being able to retrieve stuff from your own storage, from your own notebooks, from your own system.
Definitely.
It reminds me, I have a priest friend who's able to do this, and I know some of our listeners probably experience this too, but there's a concept called the mind palace.
Yes,
and
the Sherlock Holmes
Sherlock.
thing.
Yeah, and actually that's a really cool visualization of it. But yeah, my priest friend, I mean, like when he would write homilies, he would tell me he would put part one of his homily, what the meat of what he wanted to say, he'd put it in the back corner of the church. And so his mind would go there to retrieve the first part of his homily, and the next part was on the chair next to him or whatever, and there was a spatial sort of relationship to how he remembered things. That was so he had a really good memory. I mean, he could remember things that were just absolutely phenomenal. Insane, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But he had his brain had a way, or his mind had a way of kind of using spatial dimensions to store information and then retrieve them that most of us don't even really think about or have that cognizant ability.
That's really cool. Yeah, and you could develop that ability. I mean, everyone can develop their memory. Better to start young and to keep your neuroplasticity, they call it, throughout life. I think it's one of the great things you could do for kids is to teach them how to organize knowledge. I think education should do more of that. How do you organize knowledge? Not just how to write term paper and put footnotes. You know what I mean? I mean more than that. Like, how to have
develop
knowledge,
a system,
and how to store knowledge, but also how to find it when you need it. Like, more than just research. There's maybe more to that I'd love to explore that, I think, and maybe work with my own kids on that.
Well, and to tie that back to the distraction thing earlier, that is one tool that I use myself. Like, if I'm worrying about something or I'm mulling something over, like when I'm having trouble going to sleep, I do have a visualization of, oh, this thing pops up. Okay, I open a little cabinet door in my mind and say, oh, I'll put it there for the morning. I don't need it now. Nice. And that helps me to kind of ease down and loosen some of the distractions that keep worrying me. And so I've mentioned that to one of my kids, and they found that very helpful.
That's actually something that I've done before. But what I do, like if I'm going to go sit down and pray for an hour, and I've got oh my gosh, I need to do X, Y, Z, everything.
Oh yeah.
I will do the thing where I will write them all out in a notebook, and then I'll just say, put it away. Like, okay, my list is there. I will deal with it. I know I have to deal with it, but it's physically kind of somewhere else.
Right. You've got a
as I
physical
try
list.
to-
Mine
yeah.
is just a cubby hole in my mind
Yep.
list. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That's
Gotcha.
essentially the GTD method, which part of it, which is to have an inbox that you collect things instead of trying to hold everything in your mind. Have a place where you just
queue.
dump. Yeah, we just dump stuff. Like whether it's a notebook that has random notes, or I use the Drafts app on my phone, and it just has blank notes, and I just throw whatever I need to in there, and then later on I'll go back through it and look for whatever. Yeah, that's a great idea. Before praying, to do a brain dump. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's one of the big things that people struggle with prayer is distractions.
Right.
Yeah.
And if that's what you're struggling with is your to-do list, this might be a helpful way for you to kind of put that on hold as you then focus on prayer for the moment.
That's a good point. Excellent. All right. So those are some our headlines, and that's some great discussion. Thank you both. That was a lot of fun to talk about and got me thinking. So let's move on to our picks of the week. And Father Andrew, you're up first.
Cool. Yeah. So my pick of the week is an app called Mint. It's developed. I think Intuit is the umbrella corporation behind it, but they're behind TurboTax, QuickBooks. They work with Credit Karma. It's a money manager app. So you download it onto your phone. It works with iPhone or Android. It's completely free, so it's really cool. But you can connect it to your bank accounts. You can connect it to your credit cards. You can connect it if you have any debt payments happening, and it creates a monthly view, updated daily, but a kind of a monthly view of your expenses, income and expenses, and so it gives you a kind of a snapshot of the state of your finances. You can use it to build budgets, although that's not necessarily what the core programming is all about. But you can definitely use it to do better in spending your money or tracking that sort of thing. It's got really helpful charts. It'll compare your spending this month as compared to last month. Like for this month, it's telling me that and it'll send you notifications too. Speaking of, like if there's an abnormally large charge, or if there's low money in your account. I had to get all my tires replaced, unfortunately, earlier this month. So I have a very large automobile expense that popped up in mine, and so it's just helpful, especially if you're kind of unaware of your spending habits. It organizes them by food and travel, or hobbies, shopping. I mean, just about any category you would spend money on, it can categorize that, so you can even at the end of the month say, oh, I spent 50% of my monthly expenses on hobbies, and maybe I need to cut that back a little bit, So it's a really helpful thing, especially if you're perhaps looking for an app that will help you kind of to start a budget process if you haven't done that, or to just manage your finances responsibly and prudently. So
nice. Excellent. Very good. Check it out. Pat, what is your pick?
Well, not that we've done much traveling recently, but I had a recent need to help somebody who was staying in a travel place, an extended stay place, and I ended up getting them a little travel router. And that way they weren't dependent upon the Wi-Fi that the hotel had. They could use the Ethernet port in their room and plug in this little travel router, and therefore they wouldn't have to keep re-entering their hotel number and their room number and the password every few hours before it would kick off and lock them out again. And also you can this particular one you can set up in multiple ways. You can connect it to a hotspot and then basically have your own private, that it doesn't get shared with anybody else, data that you're using, or you can plug it into the Ethernet, or you can do it make it an extender that you could then boost your signal by attaching it to somebody else's Wi-Fi, but then passing on your own signal to to your own local area there.
Hmm.
And so, not that we're doing a lot of traveling, but if you do travel and you don't want to depend upon the open, easily accessible Wi-Fi that a hotel or a hospital or whatever has, and you can use this to kind of isolate your stuff and protect it.
Hmm. Do you know if it? One of the things, when my family was in a series of
Mobile.
hotels and a series of hotels and Airbnbs as we waited for our home to get repaired. One of the things that came up at the hotels was those access pages. You had to fill out all the information. Does this take care of that? Does this, like, you fill it out once now, as long as that stays? Like, that was the problem, is I kept having to, every time I open up my computer, I'd have to enter, go through this rigmarole of filling out this page.
From what I understand, if you're plugging it into an Ethernet port, then yes, that gets around it. It would seem to be the problem was with the Wi-Fi. It was when you went there, you got that access page, and then you had to deal with it. Yeah, but
that'd be good. Yeah, because you wouldn't have to deal with it on your phone and your laptop and your iPad. You just you do it once with this device, and then you don't have to deal with it again.
Right.
As long as it stays connected. That's good. I mean, it would be even good in a Airbnb. I'm thinking in the Airbnbs we stayed at, they usually had routers, but with this, you could set it up and put all of your traffic through this. And if you're going to more than one place, you just got to have the password for this set up.
Right. You don't have to keep changing it on all your devices.
Yeah, that's nice. And it's fairly inexpensive, like about $40. So that's a
Awesome.
good price. Excellent. All right. Well, my pick this week is more of a tip. I saw this and I said, this can't be this easy. If you open your web browser and you go to the address bar and you type doc.new, it will create a brand new Google Docs document.
I just saw that this week too. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and if you do sheet.new, it creates a new Google Sheet, and slide.new opens a new Google slideshow, the PowerPoint essentially. So just a simple little tip for you this week.
And does that do it on any browser or just Google Chrome?
Any browser. Yeah, I tried it in Safari. It worked. Yeah, it just the Google must have bought the domains for doc.new. And so going to that web page, it creates a Google Doc. So try it out. It's very handy. All right. So it was short and sweet for me.
Free.
And free. Right. I didn't cost you anything this week, folks. You can pay me back next time. So that's it from us. We'd love to hear your feedback on our discussion. You can comment on the show at sqpn.com/technology or the SQPN Facebook page at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, or send an email to technology@sqpn.com. You'll find links from our discussion and our picks of the week in our show notes at sqpn.com. Be sure to join the StarQuest fan club by texting StarQuest to 66866. That's StarQuest, all one word, to 66866. Don't worry, we won't be texting you like all kinds of stuff back. It's you join our newsletter, you get a couple times a month, you'll get some information on upcoming shows and some behind the scenes information, that sort of thing. It's a lot of fun and a nice way to stay in touch. So until next time, Father Andrew Kinstetter, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Absolutely.
And Pat Scott, thank you as well.
Glad to be here.
And once again, I'm Don Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest, and Merry Christmas, everyone. Hi, everyone. This is Don Bettinelli, CEO of StarQuest, with a special message as we approach the Christmas season. This past year, the StarQuest Network has continued to expand our mission of exploring the intersection of faith and pop culture through our many entertaining and informative programs. Now we need your generous financial support to reach new audiences with more of the life-changing and uplifting programming we've been creating for more than a decade. That's why it's very important that we hear from you this Advent and Christmas, the time when nonprofits receive most of their support for the year. If you are already a supporter of StarQuest, we thank you and ask you to prayerfully consider increasing your support at this time. If you're not yet a supporter, please become one now. Every gift counts. Could you give $15 or even just $10 per month? Whatever level of support you can offer, please show your support for SQPN this Christmas. And remember that your gifts may be tax deductible. Just go to sqpn.com/give. That's sqpn.com/give. May God bless you this Advent, and may you have a blessed Christmas season.